Lloydminster Mayor Gerald Albers is sharing his excitement as the new museum and archives prepares to open. Last week, the city shared a sneak peek of the nearly completed space with its grand opening coming at the end of November. Work is now just finishing up on the facility's permanent exhibits. Mayor Albers says the new museum will be constantly changing with new traveling exhibits that will encourage guests to visit multiple times a year.
That is very, very important because that's what brings people back. One of the things I heard very clearly from some people was some of the exhibits hadn't changed in 28 years in our former museum.
The modern facility is equipped with high-tech systems that will help control moisture, air, and temperature, allowing a wider variety of rotating exhibits to come to the border city.
Because you can imagine trying to bring something back from 1916, something that was used over 100 years ago in the First World War. They want to preserve it forever, but if we don't have the facilities to do that, we can't host those kind of exhibits. We now have that ability and technology and space to do that.
The city has already started to line up temporary exhibits and will announce more details once the museum opens. While there isn't any snow on the ground yet, local ski and snowboard shops are preparing for what could be one of their biggest seasons yet. Josh Howrluck has more on what to expect when it comes to picking up gear for this winter season.
Last year saw a big increase in the ski and snowboard industry. As the season progressed, finding equipment became more challenging as shops had trouble keeping up with the high demand of people looking to take to the slopes.
As everybody knows, we had a crazy year last year. And a big increase in the action sports for outside. So we saw a big increase in snowboard, we saw a big increase in ski, and even snowshoeing. And so that just had us increase our products that we were bringing in.
For this upcoming season, it looks like the industry will experience the same issues as last year. With delays in manufacturing and shipping, local shops are expecting to face issues keeping their shelves stocked the further they get into winter.
Yeah, I do see a demand going up because we do have more people that are staying with skiing, with snowboarding, and with more outdoor activities. And with that, we're going to experience the same thing we did last year, is delays in shipping and delays in getting product and even the amount of product that we can get.
So my reps are pretty well telling me that all the shipyards are pretty well totally stacked right up. So they're having to wait until they get into port. So once they're at port, they go to the factories. Once they're at the shipping docks kind of thing, it's just taking them forever to get organized and getting stuff shipped out. So it's such a backlog, just taking forever to get things out.
The lack of new gear for this season could also send waves into the used market, causing higher prices and the potential to see less used gear available.
We're going to see the used market stay high. I already see that the used prices are higher than normal. We see that with the bike market over the summer and in the hard goods in the ski and snowboard industry, where prices are staying high.
So stuff is going to be getting sold out more and more kind of thing, just because the supply issues are such a problem. So more people are going to be buying used stuff for sure, because the new stuff will be sold out, so everybody's going to be going on Kijiji and other forms of used stuff, other mediums to buy.
Both Grinding Gears and Boredom currently do have equipment in stock. However, they both expect that as the season progresses, new equipment will sell out quickly. And with the uncertainty of the current supply chain, there is no guarantee that gear will be restocked. It seems that for those looking to buy new gear for this season, the best thing to do would be to buy early as to not miss out. Josh Howrluck, Primetime Local News.
In this week's Beyond the Classroom, our Jasmine King has details on the work of occupational therapists in Lloydminster's Public School Division.
LPSD implements occupational therapy in most of their schools. A lot of their work focuses on working with students and specific skills at the beginning of their education.
I'm often working with kids for their fine motor, so that means their writing, their cutting skills. I'm also helping sometimes with regulation. So that means those kids that are really wiggly or maybe look like they have decreased attention, teaching them those skills. Sometimes we work on emotions. So sometimes kids we don't know why we get sad or mad, and then we don't know the in-between stages that we go through. So it's just teaching them a little bit more awareness.
Being an occupational therapist in LPSD, working together with the teachers is a big part of the job, and it helps identify the skills students may need help with.
We're just another part of the team. So those kids that just need a little bit more intensive services for, like a teacher will start and they're like, you know what, something just doesn't look right when they're writing. So I'm like, okay, so I'll look at their grasp, I'll look at their positioning, I maybe will watch their movement. So it's just another set of eyes, and this is an area that like OTs they specialize in those universal principles.
Currently, Cushionband tries to visit the schools at least once a week, and then once she knows what the students need help with, she brings the learning exercises to the classroom.
Often when I go into the school, it's doing classroom observations first. So I just want to see how that kid is functioning in class. I want to talk to any educational assistants and the teachers just to see where they need a bit more support. And then from there, I'm able to pull out for direct therapy if needed. But often I would bring a lot of the activity ideas to the class. It's more around teaching the skill and then even switching to using more universal strategies in the classroom.
And that's it for this week's Beyond the Classroom.
At Lakeland College, our students are challenged to go beyond the classroom, so when industry knocks, they're ready to thrive. Learn more at lakelandcollege.ca.
Dwellers across central and eastern Canada might be in for a severe and abrupt start to winter, as our Shelby Clark spoke with meteorologist Peter Quinlan on what people can expect.
We have a special guest joining us today for Primetime Local News, Peter Quinlan, meteorologist with Global News. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Shelby.
Of course, we're happy we're able to talk with you. Now, we wanted to speak on Global releasing their winter weather forecast earlier. How come this is coming out faster this year?
Well, actually, oftentimes in October is when we have a fairly reliable idea of what's going to happen as we look ahead to the winter months. The meteorological winter is December, January, February, and we're about a month or so away from that beginning mark. So we often do, if we have a higher degree of certainty, release that forecast a little bit sooner. If we're not as certain, we might wait until the models come out again. They usually come out at the beginning of the month. So we would sometimes wait until November to issue that. But we have a higher degree of certainty as to how the winter will progress. So we were ready to release that.
What can you say that Canadians can expect, especially right now, coming to the end of October, going into November?
Yeah, so it does look like we are going to see conditions continuing to cool. We've seen that over the last little while, especially as we head into Halloween. Those temperatures will be struggling to get above the freezing mark for daytime highs. Trick-or-treaters, you should definitely dress or get your costumes ready for temperatures probably just around or below the freezing mark. Wind chills making it feel probably like about -5 to -7. So it will be a little bit chillier. And there is the potential for a little bit of precipitation leading up to it. It doesn't look like we'll see a significant snowfall, though, before the big day.
And of course, it's said that there's possibly going to be a severe start to winter, especially across central and eastern Canada. Can you tell us about La Nina developing in the Pacific Ocean for the second year in a row?
Yeah, so oftentimes when we have a La Nina year, it's followed by another year that's a La Nina year. And what that is cooler waters off the eastern Pacific, off the coast of Peru. And that upwells from the lower levels of the ocean because we get a change in wind direction that pushes the warmer waters to the west. And that kind of tugs on the jet stream, and it has climate implications around the world, particularly in the Lloydminster Midwest region. We see the jet stream slump to the south of the area, and that allows the Arctic air to move in more regularly than not. Obviously, it won't be every single day, but when we look at the overall climatological average for those 3 months, December, January, February, it does look like we'll see a colder than normal winter as a result. This is likely a weak La Nina year, so it won't be incredibly cold, but it looks like, especially as we set into the second half of winter, January, February, even into March, we'll likely see those really cold temperatures lock in for longer than probably most people would like.
And yes, in your professional opinion, of course, what's some differences that you think we'll see with this season compared to last year's winter season?
Yeah, so this is a weak La Nina. Last year's was kind of a moderate to weak La Nina as well. So I think we will probably see almost a very similar winter, although last year we had a pretty warm December into January. I don't know if we'll see that same setup. It may be around average, maybe even slightly above average for December, but then I think we're going to get into that really cold stuff. January, February may drag on like it has over the last year as well. So in many ways, it will be quite similar. The big question mark is the precipitation. Some of our long range models are saying it'll be a drier start to winter, but then we're going to get a lot of snow and late January into February and March. So we'll be watching that closely. Although precipitation, there's a little bit less higher degree of accuracy with that. It's highest the accuracy with the temperature forecast. So it could be a cold winter. Get ready for it.
Are there some tips for residents you'd want to give to prepare for this winter season?
Yeah, well, I think a long, cold winter can be difficult on people's mental health. So just being aware that that will be the case is helpful. I don't know, maybe you want to book a warm vacation to somewhere warm in Canada, or even now that we can travel internationally, that's also an option. And then, of course, getting your winter tires put on as quickly as you can, because it is now snow season. Other things like getting your shovels ready, getting your vehicle winter ready, having a winter emergency kit in case you break down on the road, with a little bit of food in it as well. And also we can have localized power outages in town. So having at least a day or two supply of food is always a good idea.
Well, it's always good speaking with you, Peter. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today to give some tips and a reminder for residents with winter coming up.
Absolutely. Stay warm out there, Shelby.
Now, for a look to see if some of that cold weather might be rolling into the border city, we throw to Shelby Clark.
Thanks so much, Tate. Now taking a first look at your weather forecast. Yes, Peter was right. For the Halloween weekend, we will be cooling down quite a bit as the winter season is pushing forward. We will be seeing a lot more cooler temperatures as we head more into the winter season here. But today we are sitting at 11 degrees and we are seeing a lot more sun. So hopefully everybody is outside enjoying this beautiful fall day today, because we are seeing some nice temperatures for the week. But as we switch over to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan here, on the Alberta side, most of them are seeing that 10 and 12 degree point here. Cold Lake and Marwayne are at 11 degrees, while Edmonton is a lot warmer at 13, as well as down in Provost. Now switching over to the Saskatchewan side here, they're seeing some cooler temperatures mostly up here in this area, with Isle La Crosse and Meadow Lake at 7 and 4 degrees there. Pearceland is at 8 degrees, while Green Lake is sitting at 11. St. Walburg is at 10 degrees, while down at Maidstone, Macklin, and North Battleford, they are slightly warmer at 12 degrees in Maidstone, 13 in Macklin, and North Battleford is at that 11 degree mark as well. But speaking of North Battleford, overnight tonight, they will be going down to a low of -1, so not too much cooler than what they've been seeing throughout the week. They will be seeing more clear skies, and tomorrow they will be seeing a slightly cooler temperature at 9 degrees, but they will be seeing a mix of some sun and cloud. Switching over to Cold Lake, overnight they'll be slightly warmer with a low of 1 degree there, with a little bit more clear skies as well. And tomorrow they will see 9 degrees, but they will see slightly cloudier skies. And switching over to here in the border city, tonight we will be going down to a low of -1, but we will be feeling a more like around -5 with that wind chill. We won't see much clouds in sight, although tomorrow we will be seeing 10 degrees with a mix of some sun and cloud for a beautiful Thursday there. And as we switch over to our 3-day forecast for here in the border city, as I was saying, Thursday we will be seeing still a nice temperature with 11 degrees with a little bit more cloud coverage. Friday, unfortunately though, we will be cooling down for the weekend at 8 degrees on Friday with a mix of some sun and cloud, and then on Saturday we will be seeing a little bit more sun there at 5 degrees. That's the first look at your weather forecast. While more news coming up after the break.
Learn more and achieve more. That's the motto of a program designed to help women in agriculture develop leadership and management skills. Our Jillian Code has more.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Heather Broughton, who is the president of Agri-Food Excellence. Today we're talking about the Empowering Lasting Leadership Excellence program, which you created. Could you tell me about the inspiration behind creating this program?
So actually the foundation the program was built on was a research project that I did from 2015 to 18 here in Alberta. And it was a project where we did a research program to identify the barriers women ag entrepreneurs face in rural Alberta. And so we identified those barriers, created a program, did it here in Alberta. And then just given all the different things that have been happening and women's involvement in the different programming, we decided to take a look at it and take it national through AME. And so it really was built based on that foundation to address some of those barriers, create opportunities, make it accessible, make it affordable, and create the ability to gain networks, both within the cohorts and within a national scope.
Absolutely. Could you tell me what the program entails?
Okay, so the program is going to have 2 themes. It has both a leadership theme and a management theme. So based on those two themes, there's going to be 3 different ways you can participate in the program. One is going to be by joining other women in a small cohorts across Canada, in as close to local meeting spaces as possible, for a couple days a month for instructor taught learning. And the instructors are going to be virtual, but the cohorts will be face to face in the boardrooms. So that's one piece of it. And those sessions will take place January, February, March, and November and December. And then we're also going to host virtual cafe chats where every other month throughout the fiscal year next year, women can log on and join in a cafe chat on topics that they identify as important to them. And this will connect them with the women on a national basis. And then the last piece is for those who want to take their learning and their commitment to the next level, they'll have the opportunity to participate in virtual peer groups. So we will have 4 peer groups of 8 to 12 women to have a bit more in-depth conversations and personal conversations about their business and what they're wanting to achieve.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, what was the reception like that made you guys say, hey, maybe we can take this to the next level?
It was really good. And the feedback that we received from those who participated, what was really key was the personal impacts it had, both on them personally as well as professionally. And so they have been really key drivers in encouraging me, you have to take it to the next level and make sure other women have that same opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That was all the questions that I had. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on?
What I'd really like to say is it really focuses on women and the roles that they're playing in agriculture and agri-food. And so we kind of took a look at those. You've got women who are sole owners. You've got others who are partners with their spouse or their dad or their brother, or whoever that partner may be, or the ones that we call the unsung heroes who are playing a supportive role, but don't necessarily have a formal title. And we're really created 2 learning streams that with the attempt in trying to address kind of all those needs, giving them the ability to self-select where they think they most fit better, but just really giving people the opportunity to build those management skills if they want to take on greater roles, or if they're going to be moving into management, or they own their own business and they're responsible for it all. And the other aspect that we are really wanting to encourage, and this kind of comes where the leadership piece comes, there's those who may be interested at some point in their agribusiness career to take on leadership roles, but maybe not ready, but kind of giving them some of the insights to learn along the way, as well as those who are maybe more established in their business and are wanting to take on that leadership role, kind of giving them the tools, the encouragement, and some of the training to have them feel the confidence that they can take those positions on. So with the 2 folds, we're really wanting women to become powerful and strong in their businesses, as well as encourage them to look at leadership if they can, whether it's in their business or in the industry. So it's really 2 prongs is what we're hoping to achieve with the program.
And so for those who are interested, where can they find you guys?
Sure. They can go to agrifoodtraining.com, and the program's listed under our executive programs there. And we're actually going to be hosting a free webinar with one of the presenters from the L program, Kelly Garrett. She's from Saskatchewan. She's an executive coach, and she's just going to kind of showcase a little bit about what we're doing. And to register for that webinar, they can do that on the website as well. And that'll be held November 16th.
Heather, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Here's a look at your agriculture prices for today. The best U16 hockey players from across Western Canada gathered for the WHL Cup last week as one Lloydminster coach joined Team Alberta for the tournament. Kyle Tapp was back to work with his Inland Steel Bobcats team this morning following his stint as assistant coach for the silver medal winning Team Alberta.
It kind of sheds some light into the future of hockey, especially in Western Canada, and it's very bright. Even though those players were 15 years old, first-year midget players, yet to be drafted, there's a ton of talent and a ton of very mature, driven kids that know exactly what they want for their future.
TAP wasn't the only member representing the Northeast, though. Tristan Doyle from Bonnyville and Caden Longley from Wainwright were two players to make the team. Both boys play for the Northern Alberta Extreme. A number of players from Lloydminster were also among the final cuts.
Yeah, like Landon Ward and Caden Wilderman made it right down, and Cale Tippler all made it kind of down to the wire. They were part of the final group. Unfortunately, they didn't make the final roster, but they represented themselves and the community quite well.
The WHL Cup has been held since 2009, with Team Alberta winning 5 times. Now it's time for a look at this week's Pet Pad picture submissions.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us again this week. Stephanie is a lawyer and mediator at Hanka Divorce Law and Mediation here in Lloydminster. This is another episode of Healthy, Thriving Families in Two Homes. So Stephanie, a lot of our conversations revolve around mediation, and today we're going to dig into that a little bit more. Let's remind the viewers exactly what mediation is.
Yes, absolutely. So our viewers have heard lots about negotiation process, and mediation is one of them that I do quite often. And so mediation is a negotiation process for families who are experiencing conflict, or who are separating or divorcing, or who basically have something to work out between them. So a mediator is a neutral facilitator, or otherwise known as a process manager, that helps the parties to feel heard, to bridge the gaps between the two parties, and to help them to resolve conflict and reach resolution on whatever topics they need to talk about. So the focus on mediation is to try to find a mutually acceptable resolution for the parties. So it can be broken down into 4 easy steps. So the first is an initial consultation, which allows me as the mediator to get to know the parties and find out their story and understand better what's going on for them. Number 2 is a series of joint meetings. So some people need 2 meetings, some need 5 meetings, but a series of meetings where we talk through and resolve all of their conflict. Then next, at the end of that, the mediator will draft some kind of a document, whether it's a separation agreement or a summary, to express what those outcomes of mediation is. And then at the end, ultimately, the parties will typically look to hire an independent legal advice lawyer to help them to sign off on their separation agreement or their whatever the document is that we end up creating.
Now, you mentioned, Stephanie, that the parties involved often get lawyers, but is this something that they have to do? Is it mandatory to get a lawyer?
You know, this is a question that families ask me all the time, because a lot of times the reason that people are coming to mediation is to have the negotiations be held by them directly, as opposed to negotiating through lawyers. However, I always recommend that parties get independent legal advice at the end or even throughout the mediation, but there's never a have to. It all comes down to how comfortable the parties are with respect to coming to their own agreements without independent legal advice. So the role of a lawyer and the role of a mediator is very different. So as I said before, the role of a mediator is to be neutral and to help the parties to reach their own resolution within the context of legal information and the foundations that the law creates for us. Now, the role of a lawyer is to be an advocate, to negotiate on your behalf, and to be your voice, to help you to know and understand your legal rights and obligations under the law. So sometimes the lawyers can actually come into the mediation process, and we can do that in a few ways. Sometimes parties will want to leave their lawyer in what I call in the background, which means that you may hire your lawyer, you formally retain them, and if you have questions as you go through the mediation process, you can talk to them in between sessions, you can talk to them just at the beginning, and at the end, you have that flexibility. Other times, there are parties who feel more comfortable having their lawyer at the table with them. So essentially, that becomes a five-way meeting. So we've got two spouses, we've got two lawyers, plus the mediator. So obviously, that starts to get a little bit more expensive, but the most important thing as you go through mediation is to make sure that you feel very comfortable as the separating spouse or the spouse going through mediation, that you feel really comfortable in attending and voicing your concerns or your thoughts.
If one party decides not to get a lawyer and there is a mediation agreement, is that binding, or what exactly does that mean for people who don't have lawyers in this process?
You know, this is the best answer I can give is it depends. So it really depends on the comfort level of the parties in reaching their own resolution without having their lawyer involved or their lawyer sign off. And it also depends on the content of the agreements or the topics of the agreements that have been reached. So let's first start with parenting related issues. So there's no legal obligation that on two parents that a lawyer sign off on a parenting arrangement. So trying to figure out a schedule, decision-making responsibilities, even child support. There's no obligation that a lawyer sign off on that. Now let's talk about spousal support issues. This gets a little bit more tricky because I always recommend that you get a lawyer to sign off on your spousal support agreement, because that is, if you reach agreement and then later on you have regret about that agreement, if you didn't get a lawyer's signature, there is a chance that that agreement could get opened back up by the courts. Lastly, division of your assets and debts. There is specific legislation that says you must get a lawyer's signature to sign off on this in order to make this legally binding. Now, there are some, for example, if you're refinancing a house as part of a separation or divorce, there might be a bank obligation on you to have a lawyer's signature, not just your own signatures on a separation agreement. So there's different reasons why you would actually need a lawyer to sign off on that. But as I always say, I always recommend that you seek independent legal advice before, during, or after your mediation.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you for joining us once again, and we'll be back to chat with you next week.
Thanks, Stacey.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Charlotte Wasilic from Chanceworth Farm in Vermilion, and she's here to talk pumpkins, but more specifically, the disposal of pumpkins. So Charlotte, just to open things up, could you just explain to people why Chanceworth Farm is asking people to save their pumpkins?
Yes, well, we've got to the time of the year when there are pumpkins on almost everybody's doorstep. And come November 1st, usually those pumpkins have done their job and they are ready to move on to their next pumpkin life, which normally is, if it's maybe someone's backyard, maybe they're composting, but they might not be composting. So they might end up in a landfill or a transfer station. And that's not really the best use of a pumpkin because they're still viable, they're still edible, especially for animals. So what we do on our farm, no matter the time of year, and especially around different holidays, Halloween, it's pumpkins, Christmas, it's Christmas trees. We ask people for those unwanted holiday items because the animals really enjoy them. They enjoy those extra treats, and they're also filled with nutrients and minerals, and they keep them out of landfills.
And touching base on the animals that these pumpkins will help to feed, could you just tell people a little bit about them?
Yes, well, we have a mixed farm. We're located north of Vermilion. So we have poultry, we have chickens, turkeys, ducks, and geese. We have sheep, we have cattle, and horses. And so all of those animals enjoy pumpkins, but in a little bit different ways. So if you have a whole pumpkin, the poultry really enjoy the inside, but that outside shell of a pumpkin is quite hard and it's difficult for them to get at. So we kind of have to smash it or break it apart so they can easily access that inside fleshy part, because that's what they really enjoy. Whereas if you're a sheep or if you're a steer, you can just munch on the whole thing. So we don't have to break it up for them because they're able to munch and nibble on those pumpkins a lot more easily than the poultry can. So they're utilized in a various number of ways by the animals.
And then for people who might want to donate their pumpkins, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So we are doing a pumpkin pickup in Vermilion. So we're located just north of Vermilion. So, and I work in town. So it's easiest for me to go after work on November 1st and drive around Vermilion and pick up all of the pumpkins around town. So if you have any that you'd like to give to the animals, you can just send us a message through Facebook or Instagram on our farm page and just send us your address, leave your pumpkins at the curb, and I will come and pick them up. You can also drop them off at the farm if you'd like to actually chuck one over the fence and give it to the animals. You're welcome to do that. You just have to let us know and we'll come with you to do that. Or if you are around the Vermilion area, but you are maybe from out of town, but you have your pumpkins with you, you can drop them off with me and we can just set that up. So we will take all pumpkins, but they do have to be free of candles, paint, any kind of decorations, because that's not good for the animals to eat. So just your regular old carved pumpkin or whole pumpkins, we'll accept those too.
Thanks so much for doing this, Charlotte.
Thank you so much.
And now taking a final another look before we go out for the night, looking at temperatures tomorrow for across the region. As I was saying, we will be seeing around the same as what we've been seeing today, ranging from around 8 to 12 degrees there. Down in Provost, Wainwright, Vermilion on the Alberta side, they will be seeing slightly warmer temperatures compared to up in Lac La Biche and Cold Lake. And Macklin will be seeing around the same on the Saskatchewan side there. And now switching over to our 7-day forecast here in the border city. Thursday and Friday, we will be seeing 11 on Thursday with a little more cloud coverage. Friday, we'll be starting off the weekend slightly cooler with 8 degrees. Saturday, we will see a little bit more sun at 5 degrees there, but Sunday, we will be seeing a cooler day and night for Halloween, unfortunately. So make sure you are wearing warmer Halloween costumes. And starting off next week, we will be starting off slightly cooler at 0 on Monday and 1 and 3 on Tuesday and Wednesday.
We'll be back with some more news for you in the next hour, but for now, that's all we've got. I'm Tate Lakecraft.